Okay, so I have the skirts set up so they're 2 inches from the front of the bar here and 1.5 inches from this corner here. So I'll position them okay, got 1.5 inches, got 2 inches there. So I will just take a stapler and I will put them on, and I'm holding the stapler at an angle so that I can pull those staples out easily again later when I need to. So here again, got 1.5 inches from this corner to there and 2 inches to the front. Oh, and I got that right where I wanted it. So put a couple staples in there. And now I'll go to the back. And I'll pull that up. And I want to check to make sure everything's the way I need it to be, so I will measure my rigging. And the bottom of the skirt to the bottom of the D right there is 1.25 inches. And it's the same over here. So we've got them positioned fairly well. We've got everything lined up. Now we will flop it over and start blocking the skirts. Okay. Can I push that where I want it to be? And I'm just going to start blocking this right along the edge of the bars. So that the bar is really well defined. I'll start up here in the front. Want to get this corner where the skirt intersects with the front really well defined. So I'll start there, and then I'll start moving down this way. And I don't want to go past where my stirrup leathers are going to be, so that means I'll block to right about here. So the better defined I can get this, the happier I am going to be. Putting the staples into the sides of the bars. You can also use tacks. Staples are just a lot quicker. And I know they're all going to have to come out, so I'm not bringing them all the way home. Now, the pattern is designed so that if I start here and mold this around this way, that this skirt will end up curving up and meeting the way it should up there. So here again, I'm going to start behind where the stirrup leather is going to go. And I start defining the bar. Got to be careful about my staple placement here because I'm still going to have to put a rear housing on. Once we get these on, we'll pull that, stick the rear housing on, which I'm not going to do on this one because I have to shape a seat on this one. Always trying to get this little corner right here really well defined. Feeling for the stirrup leather slot. There we go. That's starting to do what I want it to. These skirts I'll have to push into where I want them to be so they'll dry in the back there. Okay, this does make the sewing of the wool on more difficult, but it makes the saddle work so much better on the horse that it's worth it. Okay, so my skirts aren't looking quite the way I want them to. So I'll just force them into place, and then they will end up drying the way I want them to. Okay, I have to actually shape the seat on this one, so I'm going to hold off on putting the rear housing on. Normally I would put the rear housing on now and then shape the seat, but I'll show you how I do that on this other one. So once again, put a nail in the back. So just swing an arc from both sides. And I'm hitting another nail. Oops, I forgot something on this other one. And that is Once I get these done, I take an awl, pretty good sized awl, and I drive a line-up hole in. Make it a fairly good sized hole. That's going to let me realign the skirts without a lot of messing around later. I feel my way there, and also put a couple in the back in case I need them. This is a step that speeds things up considerably later on, and I often forget to do it, but okay, let's get on to the black one. Okay, this is an endurance saddle, but I've got the skirt stuff fairly well standardized on everything. So, 1.5 inches from there to there, 2 inches from there to there. There, I've got my 1.5 inches. Black leather never seems, once you've dyed it black, it just doesn't handle as well. So I'm going to probably have to put a few more staples in this one. Inch and a half, 2 inches. Two inches, good. Okay. Stick the nail in the center, and everything should line up the way I want it. And they're off. So, which easily happens with the round skirts. So we'll pull these, see if we can reposition. That looks the same. Okay. Probably should have just pulled that skirt down a little bit before I checked that. Okay. Inch and a half, 2. Make sure my riggings are on straight. Yeah, they're good. That's an inch and a half. Okay, now it's good. Leather, gotta love it. Okay, so we'll put this up here. Well, get these secured back here. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we've got the skirts on this one now. Now I'm going to put the rear housings on. So I will get these wet. I don't have to get these sopping wet. I just like to get them wet enough so that they kind of form and take shape to the tree bar. And I'm going to make them be a tad off in the back. I don't want it to be dead on because I'm going to crank on this other side to get these tight. And the reason that's important is if somebody is roping, you don't want the rope to be able to get under the rear housing. So that pulled that around. Making sure everything looks right. And we're pretty good here. Okay, now I'm going to go get the seat wet, and then I'll mold the seat on here, and then we'll let it dry. And then I'll do the other one too. Seat, really good and wet. It's pretty soft. Hopefully it'll go on easily. So the first thing I'm going to do is position it on this side. And then I'll just put a nail in it. So now I've got to get this side to match, which means I'm going to have to pull that down a little bit. And now it's going down in just the way I want it to. It's nice when that happens. Doesn't always go that easy. Okay, so that's going to hold that there. We've got our corners in place. Now we've got to get this pucker out of here by using our drawdown strap. Okay, we want to use a spreader bar. I'll probably have to do some adjusting here. I will. Okay, when you do the flatter seat, when you give a flat spot for the pelvis, it makes shaping the seats a little more difficult. But the riders love the seats. We're really well known for the comfort of our seats. And one of the reasons I got into the dressage saddles was because I had dressage riders that had ridden in my saddles and they liked them better than their dressage saddles. So I was under a lot of pressure from people to start making the English saddles too, so that they could have as good a seat as they had in their Western. Which kind of tells you there's some room for improvement in how things are being done in the English saddle world. Okay, I'm just going to let that sit on there for a few minutes with some pressure down, but we're almost done with this. I'll put a nail in here and one in there, and then it's just a matter of letting it dry. Okay, another really important thing to do is to mold the fenders, and this particular pair is set up for inside fenders. So I put a stirrup on. I usually adjust them at 5 or 6 because it's kind of in between. I put that about there like that, and then I put a strap on. Try to get that pretty tight. Okay, now I'm going to lay my hand down here like that, and I'm going to give this a really good twist. I'm going to overdo it. If you want saddles to sell, you do this, and people sit in them and they go, "Oh, I'm not having to crank on my knee." So it takes a little while longer. You got to wait for the fenders to dry, but there is nothing that helps sell a saddle faster and quicker than this step right here. So when that fender is sitting on, the stirrup should be turned so they can just put their foot into it.